Hey guys, this is part of lesson 19. So during class today, we went over strategies and notes for a strong introductory paragraph, and then strategies and notes for a strong concluding paragraph for our argumentative essay, Is It Okay to Binge Watch? Now what we're going to do is go over all the parts of a successful academic essay, utilizing the 6 steps that I've been teaching you, the steps of an introduction, and the steps of an effective conclusion. I am going to be modeling this using a different prompt. Okay, so I'm not using, is it okay to binge watch? I'm going to be using why punishing students for imperfect grades is misguided. And that is a subject that I've been using to model thesis statements and topic sentences for you guys with within the last couple of weeks. So what I suggest you do is that you get a bunch of different colored pencils or highlighters together. We're going to mark the page a lot, and mostly we're marking for parts of the essay, not so much, making annotative notes. So we're going to be drawing a lot of lines. If you don't have a bunch of different colors of highlighter or colored pencils, then just go ahead and do the best that you can with what you have. And then you can go ahead and mark it off to the side. And just as long as you try to do what I'm doing, you're going to be fine. Firstly, MLA format. Just like we did with the Edgar Allan Poe Telltale Heart essay in the fall, you're going to have a header at the top, okay, with your last name and the page number. And then you're going to come over here and you're going to have use Times New Roman in size 12 font. Everything will be double spaced. So we're going to do your first and last name, my name, the course name, which for us is just English 8, and then you'll use the current date. I wrote this last year, so it's got a 2020 date on it. We're going to use the current date. When we get to where I give you a doc and we're starting to draft, then just go ahead and use the date that we start that doc on. Then you're going to come over here and you want just a simple title that makes it clear what your paper is going to be about. Mine is Why Punishing Students for Imperfect Grades is Misguided. If I was arguing the other side, my title might be Why Punishing Students for Imperfect Grades is Effective. Yours could be Why Binge Watching is Good for You, or Why Binge Watching is a Waste of Time. Okay, just as long as it's simple and makes your point clear. Okay, so before we get started, there is one thing that I recommend that you do. At the very top of the model, I want you to take some notes here. And we're noting the different parts of the essay. So today in class, we talked about the 3 parts of the introduction, and that is the hook, the summary, and the thesis. And then we've been working with the 6 steps of an effective academic paragraph. So those are the topic sentence, context, speaker tag, text evidence, citation, elaboration, and then for a paragraph where 2 pieces of text evidence are required, and that will be the case with this paper, you're going to continue with a transitional sentence and then repeat those steps. Context, speaker tag, second piece of text evidence, citation, and elaboration. You'll do that for all the body paragraphs, body paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and then you'll write your conclusion. And we went over that today in class. We're going to restate the thesis using fresh words. We're going to have a so what, where we explain the importance of the subject, and then a kicker or a call to action. So let's go ahead and let's get started looking at the introduction. And I'm mostly going to be on the camera, not looking at you so much at this point. So be with me on the camera. Hey, when I write, you write. A student is up at 2 a.m. working and reworking algebra problems until the frustration and fatigue come oozing out of their eyes in a flood of exasperated tears. The kid is trying and even has a tutor, but the next morning, after nervously sitting through an exam that looked like it was written in a foreign language, the student earns a C. Even though that is a passing grade, the kid is now scared because the consequence of not being perfect is the loss of their social lifeline until the next math test, their cell phone. Okay, so here we have the narrative zoom hook. Okay. And I really recommend that you use that hook with this essay when we get to the point where we're actually drafting, because binge watching is such a great and easy way to create a visual picture for people. So I want you to try it. You don't have to but I think you'll have a better result if you do. So here we have a narrative Zoom book, and I'm going to note that in yellow. Now I'm going to go to the next step, which is going to be my summary. The anxiety many students feel to have perfect grades, to be the perfect child who is admitted to the perfect college so they can get the perfect job, is intense. Maybe too intense for many kids. And yet the pressure is continually applied, often from parents whose intentions are good. So there's my summary, right? So I kind of talk about what this situation is, what is the issue. So I'm summarizing that. So that's step 2, and I have some summary. And then I'm going to go right to the third step, which is my thesis statement, my direct thesis statement. Remember, it's argumentative, so I'm going to start with language like, although some may argue. So although some may argue a student's poor grades should be swiftly punished, that's the other side's opinion. Here comes mine. Closer examination shows that strict discipline for low grades can have long-term negative effects on self-esteem. So I'm going to underline this just so you can see the parts. Right, and here's my thesis statement. So now I'm going to go into my first body paragraph. Remember, this is argumentative, so I want to continually knock down the opposition. So here I come with my topic sentence. Considering that a parent nurtures a child's character, it would make sense that virtues such as honesty and hard work are more valued parental goals than straight A's. Okay, so here's my topic sentence. And you can see that honesty and hard work are more important values than straight A's. So that's going to be kind of the focus of my paragraph. So then I'm going to get in here and I'm going to give a little context, step 2. It's true, notice how I mentioned the opposition. It's true, as some parents claim, that kids should be encouraged to earn good grades. However, a punishment that is too harsh when grades aren't perfect isn't good. Okay, so there, going back here, I've got my topic sentence, and I'm just going to call that TS. And here I have some context. And I'm going to continue that context by introducing an article that I'm going to use. So I'm going to summarize, I'm going to introduce the title of the article or the book, and then briefly summarize what the book is about. In her book, iGen, Dr. Twenge, a sociology professor at San Diego University, suggests that in this high-pressure world where kids are, let's go ahead and turn the page. Kids are fearful that their lives will be a disaster if they don't get straight A's, writes about the importance of shifting the focus of parenting away from academics and toward character development. Okay, so here is all of my context. So I've got 2 sentences of context there, and that is looking good. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to give my speaker tag. She suggests it would do a world of good to calm children's performance anxiety for parents to pretend cell phones don't exist when it comes to punishment. Today's kids see their phones as a direct connection to their worlds, and using phone privileges as a discipline tool only raises a child's stress level, which may only further interfere with their chances of academic success. So here, I've got step 3, which is my tag. Okay. Here, I've got step 4, which is my text evidence, which I'm just going to call TE. And here, I've got my citation, which comes after. So I've got my citation, so I cite here. And then I'm going to go on to my elaboration. This is important. So here I have this is important elaboration. Okay. This is important because the stress caused by being socially cut off from their phones can create unnecessary nervous tension when trying to study for the next test to redeem themselves. Instead of a perfect report card, parents should remain focused on values like honesty, patience, and forgiveness. So here is elaboration. So here's my elab. Okay, and when I look at my elaboration, okay, I see that I've got state the importance. state the importance. And we might call this why does matter elaboration. Okay, and now, just keep my colors straight here. Yes. Okay, now I've got to use another piece of text evidence. So I'm going to have a transitional sentence. So I'm going back to step one. Furthermore, and there's transitional language there. Okay, so I'm going to note trans. Furthermore, in the New York Times article, Where Have All the People Gone? The need for people to return to politeness is explored. So here we go. And I've kind of done a couple of things in one shot here because I'm in the middle of the paragraph. Okay, so I have given my trans sentence and I've given a little context. And that's okay. So then I'm going to go into my speaker tag. The author makes a valid point when he writes, I watched as the mother screamed at a waiter because her food arrived cold. After turning to leave the table, the entire family, including the young children, laughed at the mother's bravado and the waiter's shame. So here I've got my tag, and I'm going to come over here and note my tag. And here I've got my text evidence again. And I'm going to add my my citation. It's right here. So I'm going to cite. And now my elaboration. This suggests that we are moving away from helping children develop good character traits, which is far more important than pushing kids to the point of emotional breakdown to bring home a perfect report card. So there's my sixth step, which is my elaboration. Now I'm going to go to my next topic sentence in my next body paragraph, right? And I'm going to have some transitional language here. So I just finished a paragraph about character. So I'm going to have transitional language, maybe something like this. Just as parents should be mindful of character development, so should they recognize that not only are all children unique, each academic class is unique, and there are many factors why an A isn't possible for every child, no matter how often a parent disciplines. So I just talked about character development. Now I'm going to talk about how every class, every child is unique. Okay, so this is a topic sentence, yes, but it also has transitional language. It takes me from the idea in the previous paragraph and it introduces me to the one I'm about to dig into. So now I'm going to get in here and I'm going to give a little context. Some parents claim that if students study enough, any child can earn an A, but that's not true. Okay, now also notice I'm giving context, but I'm also attacking the counter a little bit. And this is good for an argumentative essay because it gives me some more juice for my context sentences, okay? This trend of punishing students for low grades seems most common with math. However, okay, more context. However, let's keep going. There are so many different levels of math. Some of them, like AP Calculus BC, were unheard of in high school a generation ago, are now seen as the road to success for 16-year-olds. These once college level classes often prove extremely difficult for many children, even highly dedicated ones. Okay, so this is a lot of context. I'm making it clear like what's happening in math these days. So I'm still here giving context. Now I haven't introduced my first piece of text evidence, but that's part of context, so it's coming. The consequences of being in a class that is too hard are made clear by a student named Blaine, who was failing in calculus during 11th grade. Okay, so now I'm introducing this Blaine kid, and I'm telling you that he was an 11th grader, okay? And now I'm going to give his speaker tag. Blaine says, so now I've got my tag, okay? Right here, I'm going to note that. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give my text evidence. Am I lost on my colors? What color was text evidence? Text evidence was orange. Okay, so now I'm going to give my text evidence. My parents always made me take the hardest math, even though I've always struggled to understand. I tried, I did, but I never got the grades they wanted. Then I would get grounded, and then they'd take away my phone or my car, and I felt cut off with no one to talk to, and this made me depressed. So here's my text evidence. Okay. Then I'm going to give my speaker tag. Okay. Notice that I introduced Blaine. Okay. This is the kid who said these words, but it came from a book written by Twinge. Okay, so I'm going to have to use the author's name there. Okay, so here's my citation, and then elaboration. This is just like when parents yell at kids on the sidelines of athletic games when they fumble or don't score. So this is elaboration. And this is state the importance. Elaboration. From our elaboration elevations. Just as not everyone is going to be a professional soccer player, not everyone is going to be an engineer, and kids shouldn't be punished for having one academic weakness. Instead, they should be encouraged to recover quickly from setbacks and continue to be hardworking. Okay, now I need more text evidence. Okay, so I'm going to have a transitional sentence. So I'm going back to step one, but step one now is a transitional sentence. So here's my transitional sentence with my transitional language. Additionally, to emphasize the importance of how not all kids fit into the same mold, UC professor Dr. Klein discusses the depression he has seen in kids in his computer science classes. Okay, so here's my trans sentence. It's like a topic sentence. Klein says, so here's my tag. So I've done the context of who Dr. Klein is and the transitional sentence kind of combined here because I'm in the middle of the body paragraph, and that's okay. Cal is a very competitive school, and it's not for everyone, but parents push kids to come here because of the name. Every year I see kids become deeply depressed because they can't keep up with the rigor. When they do poorly, I hear them bemoan how upset their parents will be, and I want to ask, are you struggling through this to make your parents happy or yourself happy? So there's my text evidence. Now I'm going to cite it, and then I'm going to elaborate here. Okay, so now I'm going to elaborate. So here's my elaboration. Okay. This is important. Okay, so state the importance. State the importance. Because we seem to be in a place where we are forcing kids to fit a mold they may not fit into, and this can produce very unhappy adults with lots of serious mental health problems. Rather than punishing kids for not being good at everything, we should help them discover what they are good at and what they love and encourage them to become great at that thing. So there's the end of the elaboration. That's the end of body paragraph 2. So now in this paragraph, as I've mentioned to you, you are obligated to take on the counter really clearly. Okay, so we're going to take on the counter. So watch how this looks. Okay. While some might suggest, looks familiar, right? Kind of looks like our thesis statement. That's true, and that's fine. While some might suggest that if you don't punish a child each time they get a bad grade, they'll never improve, studies suggest that harsh punishment related to grades can increase anxiety and have long-term negative effects on self-esteem. Okay, so here's going to be the focus of this paragraph. Okay, some people say that being hard on kids can increase, harsh punishment can increase anxiety, that if you don't punish a child, then they'll never improve. That's what some people say. I'm going to say if you do punish a child, it can hurt their self-esteem. Okay, so I'm taking on the counter in the topic sentence. Okay, so here's my topic sentence. That counters, and then I'm going to continue kind of digging away at that. Here's some context. Creating anxiety in children is just plain heartbreaking. So there's a little context sentence. Now I'm going to talk about text evidence. So I'm going to introduce where the text evidence is from and give you some context about this kid that I'm about to give a quote about. In Twinge's book, iGen, she speaks with 24-year-old Josh, who stopped speaking with his parents shortly after graduating from the University of Pennsylvania. Okay, so here's my context. Notice how I'm introducing the text evidence. Okay, I'm telling you like who Josh is and where he's from and what his deal is. Now the speaker tag. Okay, my tag. Okay, Josh says, my parents pushed me hard and I didn't do well. I have a job in banking now, but it cost me my peace of mind. I struggle to be happy because my parents never seemed to think I was good enough in school or sports or whatever. So I was constantly grounded, stuck in my room with no phone, no friends, no life except to study. In college, I started taking antidepressants for anxiety. My parents never knew. After I graduated, they still pressured me to get a job, then a better job. I couldn't take it anymore and stopped calling home. We haven't spoken in about a year. So there's my text evidence. Here's my citation. And here comes my elaboration. Okay, there's going to be a transition coming up here in just a minute. This is the same as many students I know through my son. Okay, so this is going to be right here when I give this elaboration. This is going to be elaboration. Okay, this is going to be in real life or personal connection. So I'm going to use personal connection. So I'm going to use I, and that's okay here. Usually we try to avoid that. In this case, it is allowable, so relax. He has several friends who spent all of high school trying to make their parents happy. They were rarely allowed to go out and have fun, and when college came around, their parents picked the kids' major for them. Now he has friends who are miserable, studying subjects they have no passion for, and scared they will be forced into careers they hate. This feeling of being trapped isn't just present in older teenagers. Okay, so now I'm going to transition here. Okay. Similarly, okay, so I've got a transitional sentence that is my step one. Okay, so this is step one. Again, because I'm adding on to the paragraph, I got to have two pieces of text evidence, right? Similarly, even when young students are encouraged to be perfect at school, an eighth grader in Illinois reported to Dr. Twinge. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here's my, oops, I screwed that up. Okay, here's my topic sentence here. Sorry, here's my context. Okay, an eighth grader. So I got my context here. Okay. I almost never have my phone, and I just got it last year. My parents are never happy with my grades, so they take it away. Only that doesn't make me study more. It just makes me sad. So here I have my text evidence again. Here's my citation. And here's the last little bits of my elaboration. Given the impact punishment for poor grades has on kids' emotional health, it is clear it is not an effective way to raise happy, well-adjusted people with high self-esteem. So there's the last bits of my elaboration. And this is kind of a state the importance. Elaboration. And then I'm going to go to the conclusion. And like we went over today, I'm going to restate the thesis with fresh words, okay? So when one considers the need to develop a child's sense of emotional balance and that some classes are just plain hard for certain kids, it seems almost cruel to dole out harsh punishments for academic success. So here I'm restating. Now I'm going to go into the so what. Why should somebody care? While some parents may argue they have the right to raise their children how they want, studies show pushing too hard for academic perfection isn't always an ideal parenting style. So here's my so what. Okay, so it's kind of like, think about this, you guys. Okay, kind of like think about this. And at this point, I'm kind of speaking to parents, but I'm speaking to the broad audience as well. Now, here's my kicker. This is my final thought. Okay, this is a sentence or two. Maybe it's one. You know what? I'm going to call this my so what too. Honestly, in a world where there's so much bullying, rudeness, and lack of willingness to compromise, isn't how a kids treat others more important than a seventh grade report card? Okay, so that's what you should think about. Okay, now here's the kicker. This is my last thought. Once they're grown, no one will ever ask a kid what their grade was in 10th grade geometry, but they will always notice how they treat others, and whether there is a spark of confidence in their eyes. Okay, so this is the kicker. This is the final thought. This is the idea that I want you to take away from my paper. You might instead do a call to action where you ask the reader to do something like stop binge watching or get over themselves and relax and go with the flow with binge watching. But you can see when we go through it and it's color coded that we are following those steps. And yeah, it gets to be like a little bit formulaic, but over time as you evolve as a writer, you're going to be able to play with it a little bit more, and you'll understand what to do and when to do it. And mostly the goal here is for you not to hesitate and get stuck and go, I don't know what to do next. Okay, so there is the deconstruction of the model paper. I promise you, if you make your essay look as close to this in terms of structure, you are going to be successful. And I want you all to be successful. So good luck. Follow the model. I'll see you in class next time.